Good afternoon. This afternoon we're operating the Speakers Forum, which has been going in Melbourne for maybe 40 years. We've had two speakers. The last one was Norman. My name is Rose. And I'm going to speak this afternoon on this topic, which is, what are you addicted to? Now, I've put a lot of thought into this particular topic because, believe it or not, there are absolutely so many addictions. We think, first of all, we would start to think about drugs, alcohol, gambling. But there are so many other addictions that often we just don't think about. And I'm going to name some of them. I made a list of them. Drugs, alcohol, gambling, pornography, sex, money, power, food, sport, consumerism, lying, stealing, your work, the internet, social media, Facebook. People are addicted to all these things. There are people listening to me right now who are addicted to one or maybe more of these things. Most of us have some sort of addiction. I'm not going to tell you what mine is because it's quite legal and there's nothing immoral about it, but that's my personal story. Second, I want to look at the definition of what an addiction actually is. So I consulted two dictionaries. The first dictionary I consulted was the Macquarie Dictionary. And the Macquarie Dictionary says, to be addicted is to be completely possessed by a habit. But the Oxford Dictionary actually goes further than that, and it says, an addiction is taking a substance or indulging in a practice, e.g. pornography, and being unable to stop this practice without bad side effects. Now the Oxford Dictionary also uses other words like compulsion and dependence, and we all know they come into especially drug addictions. My own definition of an addiction is this: being addicted to something or someone means that you cannot live without that thing or that person. And we've all been in that situation at some time in our lives. There are addictions which are immoral or amoral. That is, do they break any laws, including the moral law? Do they hurt anybody, including yourself? Now this afternoon I brought my friend Minnie Mouse with me. Now I can be addicted to Minnie Mouse. There's not going to hurt me or Minnie. Because Minnie does have a friend called Mickey, but we're not going to go into that because, you know, that could have some connotations that I'd rather not talk about. I mean, for example, is the relationship between Mickey and Minnie Mouse entirely above board or is it above the floorboards? Now that's another story. I recently heard a radio advertisement in which the person said, while I was gambling, my self-esteem was at its lowest. And I think this is a very important point when we come to addictions. Another illustration of an addiction affecting your self-esteem goes like this. There are people who indulge in immoral affairs to an attractive person, thinking that this will boost their self-esteem. But often the opposite occurs. Because of the guilt involved, it can make their self-esteem hit rock bottom. Now my sister-in-law happens to be an alcoholic. She doesn't realise she's an alcoholic, but she has to drink every day. And she's just come back from a few days away. She went down to Rye for a few days. And I spoke to her and I said, what did you do at Rye? And my sister-in-law said to me, I drank wine. If I go down to Rye, I don't waste my time drinking wine. I look at the beach and I might go for a swim and I'll enjoy nature. I don't have to have a bottle, you know, to have a good time. Now how and why is my sister-in-law addicted, even though she doesn't realise it and she would never admit to it? She's addicted to alcohol. Because she cannot go a day without drinking. She has to have a drink every day. That means she's an alcoholic. She's addicted to alcohol. excuse. Such as so many Australians always find an excuse to drink. Oh, it's Christmas, it's Easter, oh, it's my birthday, oh, my father died, or it's a wedding. Always an excuse. Or maybe you're bored. Or maybe you haven't got anything constructive to do, so you pick up a bottle. What an idiotic thing to do. Go and get an education, read some books.
Sit down over there. Down next to the guys there. I don't know, what do you normally enjoy?
The funny thing is that people will pretend that their addictions make them happy. People will pretend that they're happy when they get drunk, when they have a joint, when they go on a drug binge, indulge in pornography or inappropriate sex. The Oxford Dictionary describes happiness as being contented with your lot. But does your happiness have to come from a bottle or a syringe? You might think you're happy, but in actual fact, you're only going through the motions of chasing happiness via your addictions and habitual behaviour. And often what we think makes us happy actually makes us slaves to that habit, person or thing. Now I'd like to talk a little bit about consumerism, because that should affect us all. In fact it does. There's not a person here who is not affected in one way or another at some time or other by consumerism. Consumerism is a very interesting addiction. If happiness means being contented with your lot, then consumerism is the antithesis of contentment. Why? Because consumerism dictates that you must keep on buying and consuming, whether it's the latest iPad, iPod, laptop, fashion. In a recent speech, I don't usually quote popes here, but Pope Francis referred to our throwaway culture. This throwaway culture demands that you engage in consumerism. Why? Because most products today are only designed to last a certain amount of time and then they break, so you've got to go out and buy another one. That's all deliberate consumerism. On the other hand, Jesus preached a different type of culture altogether. Jesus Christ, in fact, was counter-cultural. Counter-cultural. Why do people go on drinking, taking drugs, gambling, abusing sex and chasing pleasure? I'd like to suggest that it's because there's a void in their lives, they are empty. And St. Augustine said, our hearts are restless till they find their rest in God. I'm nearly finishing this afternoon. It's interesting that many people who chase happiness in all the wrong places end up becoming depressed, and quite seriously so. They end up in rehab and all sorts of things and taking drugs to get over their depression. Which of course is the very opposite of what they were looking for in the first place by smoking pot or drinking or gambling or whatever. They were looking for a high, but these things give you an artificial high. There are millions of people walking around the planet who are in chains. Chains which are created by their addictions. And these people might call themselves Buddhists, Shintoists, Maoists, Communists, Humanists, Atheists, or even terrorists. But whatever it is that is taking up your time, money and energy, I'm here to tell you, my friends, that Jesus is the answer. What this country needs is not more gold medals at the Sochi Olympics, which is an obscene waste of $50 billion. What this country needs is not more technology, not more gold medals, not even a change of government can solve Australia's deep-seated moral problems. What this country needs is a change of heart and mind. It is only through the power of Jesus, I believe, that you'll be able to overcome your addictions. Jesus is the answer. Thank you for listening.